I will now read my 2019 blog. This is a chapter from my book. With Tangerine Dream's mid-70s music in the backdrop. Early on in my media activism, interviews, and reports, there was a lot of focus on the event that led to the wars and invasions of the last several decades. 9/11 is the day they don't want people to question anymore. Therefore, it's only now discussed in fringe circles, rather than by anyone on the left purporting to be fighting for social justice or against racism. Likewise, on the right, today they speak little about 9/11 also. Regardless of anyone's view of that day, what they identify with racially, politically, gender-wise, 9/11 occurred during a peak in solar activity in late 2001, unknown to even the most active conspiracy theorists. As my own awakening began, I began to look at how the 9/11 event would change our world, as well as how it might affect certain populations and peoples overseas. I believe that the powers that be have used the event to justify the deaths of millions of people in occupied countries. However, you should know that these views are not exactly shared by many of the 9/11 truth activists, and some even find easy ways to point their finger at immigrants, specific ethnicities, regions on the earth, of course, showing that they're missing the elephant in the room. That would be the element of Western imperialism, genocide, wars, fill in the blank here. So the strong sense of intuition during that solar cycle manifested as a specific understanding that I felt conscious of a changing energy in the world and the city that I was living in at the time. My own dark ages of early adulthood, confusion, mistakes, and disorientation transformed into a new reality once I began a path of speaking my own truth. And that came in the form of hosting my own cable access TV show in my hometown. By that time, I came across studies on the solar cycles and wars by the late researcher slash author Burl Payne. The floodgates of my mind opened as many dots began to connect for me. We're talking specifically the pattern of major world events, riots, wars, invasions, strategically launched or occurring at certain times of peak solar activity. This indicated to me, at least, that there may be a method to the madness when they push the red buttons of war. Your world is full of books and seminars regarding deceptions from the top down, mass manipulations of society, and theories on patterns regarding the dates of key world events. And I quickly found that Payne was one of the few that could be seen discussing the trend of major world events occurring during geomagnetic storms. And I believe that the powers that be capitalize on how these changes influence the quick changes in human perception and thought, and thus behavior. With this knowledge, the unknowing masses can be mind controlled to wars, invasions, killing fields, as events are manufactured and created. They can blame it on any group in the world and literally sick the mind controlled population And so we have the after event of 9/11 and the deaths of millions of people overseas. And so we see a direct connection with the solar event. Many have publicly speculated about the hypothetical room where presidents are shown the JFK tape in order to keep them alive, or in order to keep them in line, under control, under their control. But I imagine that the powers that be are in their own room with their own high-tech software programs ran by supercomputers or AI, likely displaying all different types of full control, real-time monitoring of humanity. That's what I think is actually going on. That's the point that I'm making here, that this is really what's going on. That there are instructions on how to disrupt and redirect our energies. It may exist in some kind of room even. And we don't see people talking about that. So there may be an expression of modern human or even non-human organizations or intelligence agencies that manipulate or control us from the top of the hierarchy, the top down of social control, even at a level that many humans don't perceive or understand. So I want to take time to make sure that this topic that I'm taking time to read to you is making sense, that I'm not going too fast. In the first Matrix movie, talking about the Matrix should get through to many of you. Morpheus explains to Neo that we are seen as batteries to the non-human controllers of this world. And without a doubt, they have a knowledge of the mysteries of the sun and may use its cycle's key phases for these non-human entities or spirits to travel or transport themselves in and out of this world as elements of human governments wage battle on the human soul through the wars that they create, through the violence that they promote, and the suffering that is engineered, that is carried out. Look at the suffering that many people have to cause for others in order for them to pay their rent. Many humans may subsequently become possessed by a spirit of evil, even temporarily, to carry out the will of the overlords of humanity. And that has its own chapter. Okay, that is the paranormal influence. So we can talk about that another day. These videos have already been created for my main audience. And so for some of you, this is review. You've already heard this. You've already listened to this video. And yet here it is. Here is the dissertation coming at you again 6 years later. And many people still don't get this. And here I am walking around this world like a modern day pauper, inviting regular Janes and Joes to take the red pill, hoping that because they haven't gone down the Alex Jones, Clyde Lewis, coast to coast, Carrie Cassidy route already, that maybe they will be open-minded enough to hear this perspective. And I'm still waiting to see if this channel can be the one to educate those people. For years, I've drawn a big red marker around public safety, future wars, mental health, and the need to utilize methods of spiritual protection as the veil thins further between our world and the others that seek to manipulate us and the others. New technologies like 5G may be purposely installed now prior to 2025 in an attempt to direct humanity away from evolution and into easier suggestibility. That would be psychological suggestibility. So we are talking about mind control. Top secret space exploration likely uses strategies to coordinate their operations with a fluctuating state of space weather, as the deepest discoveries of the sun have likely been kept a secret, which is why many people don't trust NASA. While the powers that be are using the solar cycle, likely using the solar cycle for their own gain, ignorance of the solar cycle's influence over humanity plagues the state of our society, beginning with public school and the media. Massive events like Hurricane Katrina in 2005, as well as Fukushima in 2011, occurred after X-class solar flares erupted from the sun, causing geomagnetic storms on Earth. Most alternative media researchers question the official story suspected HARP as the cause. Many online videos suggested government manipulation while overlooking other possible contributing factors, which are based on science. We shouldn't discount the power of the sun to play a role in these earth changes and other events. The question is how much of the ionosphere, atmosphere, and other fields have already been weaponized already, and to what degree. I suggest that the global powers have a deeper knowledge of how to redirect, control various storms using the energy already available. Other technologies send unnatural magnetic fields into our reality, likely canceling out some of the beneficial rays of the sun. Is there an agenda to use technology and propaganda to create a more violent class of zombies in our new dark ages? New dark ages, terminology I've been using for years. The people are collectively energized when the sun wakes up from a quiet state, and movements naturally form and go into action. That would be human movements on the ground here on Earth. Plenty of political movements already are believed to be controlled. Could it be the agenda of the powers that be to drain humanity of their anger, of their energy, by focusing control over their movements directly and indirectly? Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party both sparked up after solar cycle 24 began to ramp up, and both subsided after the solar cycle peaked or passed its peak. What was the result of so many other movements that have come and gone?